So we've all seen drone racing online and thought, that looks so cool. How do I do that? Next thing you know, you go down the rabbit hole of buy this timer, buy this software, but this software doesn't work with this timer and this Ethernet cable you need to power this way, and it just becomes too much. In today's video, we are going to be doing a step-by-step guide for beginners on how to set up and run their own drone races. What kind of hardware do you need? What kind of software do you need? What kind of settings do you need? Everything is going to be covered in today's video. I've never run a race myself, but I want to know how. Luckily, I have friends, and we're going to learn together on how to start running our own drone races. Let's go. This is Wade, and he's our FPV race organizer expert for today's video. He's run a lot of local races, which I think makes him perfect. And yeah, what is your normal race like on a weekend?
Weather dependent. We have 10 to 12 pilots coming out, having a great time, doing some fun fly racing. We do a little bit of time trial, a little bit of heads up racing, just whatever the crowd's feeling that day.
Perfect. So I don't know anything about running a race. This guy knows a lot about running a race. You probably don't know anything about running a race. So I think this is a good combo. We're gonna be able to get you guys in the air. You've decided you want to run races and you need to know what to buy. There's software, there's hardware, there's a million things and it feels so complicated, but we're gonna try and simplify it. Pretty much have everything we need to run a race right here. The part I'll cover is the timer. This seems to be the simplest. Today we're gonna be using the Lap RF 8-way from Orca and Immersion RC. This thing is finally back in stock. Point of this video being posted, there's going to be a 7-day pre-order in the link below if you want to pick one up. They've been out of stock for really years, but they are finally back and even have some improvements over the other versions, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But what else do we need, Wade?
In addition to the 8-way race timer, you're going to need a way to power it. So what we find a lot of times is that these little POE switches, some folks have them laying around at your house, or you can pick them up at Walmart for 20 to 60 bucks, something like that. What this is going to allow you to do is going to allow you to connect your timer up to your laptop. It's another very important piece that we're going to cover later when we do the software side. But the last thing that you have to have is cables to connect everything. Putting your Ethernet on a spool like this makes the setup and cleanup a lot.
Okay, gotcha. So this is all a wired system. There's no wireless connection in any of this. You got your laptop connected via Ethernet through this thingamajig to your timer, and that's what makes the world go round in this case.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to have links to all of this in the description. Really, it's only 3 things. You got your switcher, your timer, and some Ethernet cable. Hopefully you have some of that laying around your house, and then just a laptop of any kind. I don't think, does performance really matter, or can it just be any kind of laptop?
If you're just doing the timing, you can really use your grandmother's laptop.
Perfect.
When you start adding video in, that's when you're going to start taking that next step.
So that's something we're not going to cover today, is actually feeding video into the timer. All we're going to be caring about today is getting timing into the laptop so you can run a race. The other stuff will have to be in another video. Quick unboxing of the Lap RF. It's pretty simplistic. It looks something like this, and there are some changes to the previous version. There's now a GPS on board, which I don't really know what that does, but apparently it helps race organizers. There's now POE, which the previous version didn't have, so you run just one wire to the timer, and that'll keep everything going. In addition to that, you'll have a tripod mount on the bottom. We're gonna be talking about how to mount your timer properly to make sure you don't have any double reads or anything like that. But other than that, this thing is a super solid piece of tech. It's been out of stock for a long time. We are super thankful and excited for it to be back with Immersion RC supporting the hobbyist community. Again, this is available for pre-order for 7 days at 533 down below. If you get in that 7-day pre-order, we're gonna order and make sure we get them out to everybody who wants one, but they should be available at stores around the country here soon.
So there's 2 major pieces of software when it comes to running your race. You got FPV trackside or lifetime. Here on the local scene, we find it a lot easier to run FPV trackside. We find that the user interface is a little bit easier to stand up. It's really just plug and play, and you can. It's really flexible when you guys get into the video components. So for today, we're going to concentrate on FPV trackside. Also, it is a free piece of software. That's one of the differences between the two. Lifetime does have a free subscription if you have under 10 pilots, but like we do, we have 12 to 14 racers routinely show up. Sometimes we get even more if it's a big event. But so for us, it made more financial sense to go with something like trackside.
I gotcha. So trackside is free, easier to use, maybe not as powerful for the professional scenes using multiple timers and everything, but for plug and play, they want to be a race organizer today. Trackside is what we're going with.
Yeah, that'd be 100% our recommendation for sure.
Perfect. Being that we're going with FPV trackside, we're going to try and get everything downloaded on both a Mac and a PC to show you the differences. The only complicated part that I've seen is all of this Ethernet IP address stuff, and we're gonna do a quick tutorial for both Mac and PC. I'll put the time cards each up here so you can snip to whichever software you're using. Hopefully it should be pretty easy, and we can get on to actually setting up the race. Okay. As your software is downloading, it's time to get your timer set up and configured. So we have the lap RF here, we have the Ethernet that we're about to plug in, and again, since this is the version 2, we will be doing all power over Ethernet. This is where the switch comes in, which is over here. We have 2 Ethernet cables that are both on the POE side of the switch, which means power over Ethernet. Our switch needs to be powered on so that it can power the timer properly, and 1 Ethernet cable is going to go directly to the timer. The second Ethernet cable is going to come directly into your dongle of choice to plug in to your laptop. 2 Ethernet cables, 1 switch, and we should be able to plug it in and get power to our timer.
So once you power up your lap RF, it really is just plug and play, Evan. The one thing that we've had to make sure that we verified that we're talking to this lap RF is just to check the Ethernet IP address. And you do that really easily in the communication tab. Just verifying that setting is the only thing that we've had to touch at our local races. That's going to get us rocking and rolling. We have the information we need to be able to connect up with this device via IP address.
Okay, so now we go to the laptop and match this with the computer.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. It seems like having the IP is important because it gives us the address, if you will, to the timer. Once we go on to the laptop, we're gonna need that information to then properly set it up, and we'll show you how to do that on both Mac and Windows.
Here on the Mac, so we're gonna go into network. I see this is the inactive connection that we've gone. So we're gonna come in. We want to go to TCP IP. We're gonna make sure that this is set to manual. We're making an ad hoc network. The 192, we're looking at our timer says 192.168.1.9. So all we're gonna do, honestly, for sake of ease of understanding, set your laptop to 192.168.1.1.
Perfect. Okay, and then you click OK.
And say OK, and now we should be off to the race. So now we've created the network. It really is, we just have to let trackside know where to find their timer. Okay. We do that by using the little hamburger menu. They've really laid it out really nice. All of our settings are all in one little spot. We're gonna focus in on the timing settings, and then really we're gonna make this super easy. Scan the network. Once you have it added, it will remember this IP address. And since they're already using 192.168.1.9, it should add that right in. So if you have problems adding it with the scan feature, maybe try to add it and manually put in this IP address. Just make sure the key thing to take away here is that this network, the host name and IP address should match exactly what it says on the lap RF, exactly what it says in the host name field here in trackside. So as long as those 2 match up, you know that it's all connected up. And so we're gonna say okay. The great thing about trackside is you'll notice the little icons will turn red if it disconnects, and it'll also give you.
Okay, so if we connect it back, then we can see.
And that's your little audio cue that we're connected and everything's working.
Timing system connected.
It's pretty cool. Perfect. Okay.
we're gonna set this up on Carter's machine. He's running Windows and he's got an Ethernet cable. So we're just plugging straight into the laptop. And what we're gonna do, Windows, depending on your flavor of Windows, it could be a little different, but these are your generic steps, right? You're gonna be looking for network connections. And that's going to give us access to our adapter settings. So if you're doing your search through the Windows search, just look for network connections, adapter settings. That's going to get you to this page here. And this is going to be our Ethernet adapter for this laptop. We're just going to right click, go into properties, and we're looking for Internet Protocol version 4, TCP IP version 4. We're going to look at those properties. We're going to give it the IP address, like we said before, 192.168.1.1. Like I said, we want to make the machine 1.1 because the timer is 1.9. So we could care less about the rest. We're going to say subnet mask because Windows makes us happy. And we say close. And now if we go to trackside. Oh, he's got the Galaxy thing. So instead of doing the network scan on Carter's machine, let me show you how to do it manually if you ever have to. Sometimes we found that the network scan, when it works great, but sometimes you have to manually add it. And we do know the IP address of this device, so it's simple as just selecting the lap RF 8-way timer. The IP address is going to default to the exact same IP address programmed onto the machine. All these are going to come from the factory, the 192.168.1.9.
So host name always matches exactly.
Host name. So the key takeaways here on the Windows machine is your IP needs to end in 1.1, and the host name in trackside needs to be 1.9.
Cool.
And they both start the other way. So we're going to say OK. We should hear the timer kick off. We got error notification, and we can do the little listen to the lady.
Test. Listen, we can hear.
Timing system disconnected.
Perfect. And then plug it back in.
Cool.
Looking here.
Timing system connected.
Perfect. Okay. We now have the Windows and Mac computer both connected, and now we're going to get into the actual software setup, plugging in your pilots, getting their channels right, getting the qualifying and race set up, moving on to the next. As we go into the software setup, we're going to be trying to do two primary things. We're going to try and set up qualifying heats, which is where you can fly as many packs as you want and have everybody ranked on a leaderboard with their best 3 consecutive laps. And then we're going to try and go into race heats, which is something where you can say first 1 to 3 laps wins. Those are different settings in trackside, which we're going to explain now. We're also going to be going over some more miscellaneous settings like importing your pilots, making sure they're on the right channel, and whatever else Wade says is important.
Things just to kind of, as a brief overview, trackside really does a really great job of putting all of your options on the right hand side. You can find your channel settings, your event settings, your timing settings, everything right here in one little spot. The things that you definitely want to make sure that you have right in your event are, the first thing is, let's go to our event settings. This is where we can set our race rules. These are our laps, our personal best laps, or our race length. The race length is going to give us at that 2-minute time limit. The PB laps is going to be our qualifying lap count. So if we wanted to have fastest 3 consecutive, we would change this to 3. Our guys, we have a leaderboard smash, and our guys like to see who can do the fastest single lap. So we turn that to 1, and that's how we do our qualifying. And then once we get into the race, obviously that's going to determine on your track. But for our example here, we'll say, hey, most races are 3 laps, so we're going to set it to 3 lap races. And that's exactly how you do it right there. Super simple. The other thing that you want to definitely make sure are that your channels are set right. Using the multi-GP site, you can use the API integration to pull in your events with your pilots and your race channels. But it's just as easy to manually set these going through whatever scheme that you guys fits best. We use the Event VRX at our local site. So the race band 1, 2, 7, and 8 seem to work out the best. It avoids some Wi-Fi and some interference we have at airfield. This is something we picked up from Mondo and the guys over in Knoxville, and it works out great. It's time to add some pilots. So on Mac, we're going to use the 2-finger click method to right click, and we're going to add some pilots. If you're on Windows, just use right click the way the Lord intended it. So the first guy we're going to put in is my personal favorite, heads up here, and he is CSP 1020. All right, awesome. So now we have our pilots. It's time to go ahead and create some routes. You'll notice this bar up at the top. This is going to be your navigation bar. Super simple. It's got your rounds. If you have video input, this is where you can look for your video camera. You got some track options to build your track and FPV track side. It's really awesome. And then for your race director, here's your summary screen. I really can't say enough about the folks over trackside. They're really nailing it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and do a race round. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this. Anything that you need to do is right click or the 2-finger click with Mac. We're going to come down, we're going to set our type to a time trial. Now you can change this in the software to say qualifying or whatever you want, but the time trial is really, this is going to be our qualifying. I'm going to use this plus arrow to add a race. Then I'm just going to drag and drop everybody down into their selected spot. You can see that once you add someone to a race, they have a channel assigned. That's going to be their channel the rest of the time. So really and truly, we've got our qualifying round set up.
We've got our pilots added. It's really ready, off to the races at this point. You can select the heading for the race to go into the live mode. It's really as simple as pressing the space bar to start the race. But then, yeah, just space bar.
Arm your quads. Starting on the tone in less than 5.
Whoa. You can hear the timer beep. And there it goes. And now we're ready for our whole shot. So if we're gonna go ahead and change the format.
Well, I have one other question. So if you want to add a race, so say you have more than 4 pilots, Mondo and Atreides want to go again, and they don't want to race everybody else.
So you can do it in rounds or in races. The flexibility is totally up to you. You can add a race with the little add a race button, or you can add another round if you want a completely new round of everyone go again. But it really is, once you get the round created, we just go right in and who wants to race next? Oh, okay, let's see, let's get a heads up in a Mondo race. And then let's come down here and we'll add another race, and that'll be just Atreides and CSP.
The way a race normally works is they go through heat by heat by heat, letting everybody fly once, and then they go to the next round. So when he talks about races and rounds, you have the races that are within a round, which is allowing everybody to fly once, and then you go out a round to then say, okay, now everybody gets to fly their second pack, which is why they have races and rounds.
No, that's a great call out, yeah. But yeah, it's really intuitive. But once you have, so say you can always tell what the round type is up here by the name up here. And if you're going to go create your next round, you can. The great thing is you can clone exactly what you just had.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Or I clicked the wrong button. Let's delete. I mean, the navigation is really top notch. But if we wanted to add our next round, we could add in an empty round, and then right click in. Set the type to race. So this is the biggest thing here. So you've got a couple different options. Practice is just going to be open, and you can have it say whatever you want for whatever channel as they go by. A lot of times our folks will have that. I'll set everybody's name in it if we've got a small group, and we'll just run laps. Just as open practice, have fun, it'll say your name, it'll count your laps. Then when we're ready for qualifying, we use the time trial.
When it's time to actually run races and be first to 3 laps, you then change the type to race,
yeah.
And then how do you set the amount of, like the first person, how do you set the laps for racing?
So that's down in your event settings. Like we said, so this is our race rules. Our number of laps is 3, so that's going to be the first to 3 laps.
Okay.
Our qualifying is going to be the 1 lap, the PB lap, and then our race length at a maximum is 2 minutes, 120 seconds.
Okay, fantastic.
So yeah, that's how you set that up, and then really and truly you just add races as you need. One other way that we found to run finals is once you've ran your time trial rounds, you can come here and say show results, and you can get the PB records. Once you have the records of everyone, then you can come and say add a round, come down here and say final. Now by default, this will give you, I think it's the letter mains, but you can come down and get add a format. They have all these multi-GP, Australian rules, kind of pick your flavor.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. We find that with our small group, just keeping up with it with the spreadsheet works out for us.
Okay.
Cool. But it is great to know that these options are there.
Now that we have the software side figured out, we're going to go outside, try and run some heats, show you how the timing works, show you how to maybe adjust some of the tuning of making sure everybody's getting picked up properly, and then you guys are off to the races quite literally. We are now out at the track, a bunch of gates set up, and there's a few important things we need to talk about. There's timer placement, where the gate should be, that is the timing gate. A lot of little nitpicky things that Wade has a lot of experience with that he's gonna walk us through right now.
Picking gate placement is key. You don't want to be a really busy section. You don't want to be having any over the tops, double reads. You want to try to eliminate those the best we do. Here at our local spot, we have kind of the start gate area. It's away from the rest of the track. It's a nice long curve that you come into. You set yourself up for success when you're setting up the timer.
Because if it's in the middle, right now, this is just for example, but if it's in the middle of this junk, then a pilot could fly through here and the timer will detect it, but it may come through the top of this gate and it may detect it, or it may detect it when you're coming through the bottom of the next one. It's really good to set yourself up for success to have the timing gate separated away from everything, no wrap downs, just flying directly through it. It'll help a lot.
Is try to capture the wavelength as the folks come by your start gate. So say if we were entering this way, coming across here, I would place the timer at a little bit of an angle. You can think of it, it's reading a directional spread, and so you just want to kind of put it on the one side and kind of aim it away from the rest of the track.
Gotcha.
A lot of times when we do whoop races, we will attach it underneath a gate like this as the whoops go under.
Okay.
Because a lot of times they'll have a lot of multi-path environments.
Okay.
But it's really key to kind of think through what you're going to do with your timer, just to set yourself up for success, or you'll be chasing double reads all day long.
Yeah, but simply, this is the top of the timer. It's directional, so you want to point this towards where the drones are coming through, and you want to try your best to point it away from the rest of the track to give yourself the best chance for success. I see you have an Ethernet cable here, so we're going to follow that back to your race organizer setup. And I guess this means that you need to make sure you have enough Ethernet cable to get back to your race setup. As you can tell by this, we definitely do. As we follow the Ethernet cable, we come into the Ethernet switcher. Once again, the timer goes on one side, the computer will then go into the other via this, and Wade has it connected just like we did before. Any key tips for just the race organizer setup?
You need to make sure you have enough Ethernet cable to get out there. Make sure that you have power available, because you are going to need power to run the timer if you're not using a battery system.
So that means you need a generator of some kind or a battery bank, something where you can power your switcher to stay going. But I guess it's time to get into a race. So Skip, do you want to fly a couple laps for us?
Sure.
Okay. So if we want to do a heads up versus a Atreides race, then what would they need to do?
Cool. So we're just getting back to air rounds. Add a new race. We're just gonna go ahead. We're gonna use the add button at the top. We're just gonna add a race in air, same round, and then I'm just gonna drag and drop the pilots where I want them to be. And we'll put Carter there and Atreides here, and we'll have us a good old-fashioned race-off.
Perfect. As far as the pilots go, you're going to say that Atreides is on R7, Carter is on R8.
Right, so we got 2 pilots on the line. Can I get 2 thumbs?
You got 2 thumbs?
Got 2 thumbs. All right, everyone's ready. Listen to the lady.
You turn it up.
Arm your quads. Starting on the tone in less than 5. Polish at Atreides 4.29.
So we got the whole shot times coming in.
Catch Carter.
Yep.
Atreides 1 lap in 9.21. CSP 1021 lap in 8.27.
Oh boy.
CSP 1022 laps in 15.83.
Both are down. So in theory, they would fly as much as they want, and their PB is going to be determined by their best single lap.
That's what we have in the event settings.
Can we get a sub 7 out of Carter?
Come on, Carter.
CSP 1023 laps in 21.6.
Oh, he's going for it now. Get in. Oh, 6.5.
6.5. Let's go.
Oh yeah, bring it home. Very nice, Carter. Here we go. Woohoo! That wraps up today's video, and hopefully this gives you the tools to be successful as a race organizer. Obviously, we didn't go super duper in depth into everything, but you can ask questions in the comments that I'd be happy to come in and answer to the best of my ability. The point of this video was to give you a broad outlook as to how you can get into running races, just like Wade here. And dude, thank you so much for coming to do this. Wade runs a bunch of races in Western Carolina and Asheville. You should definitely check it out. If you're in the area, they run races all the time. And if somebody were to want to start running races, they want to build a community like you, what have you found to be the most successful to helping people or trying to build a group like you have of weekly pilots?
What's helped us the most has been the cooperation from MultiGP, getting touch and base with the local groups, chapters. We went to I.O. this year, met a lot of great people. They had some great suggestions on how to reach out to the community. We use Facebook, Discord. Our guys are really into the sim. We met some local folks on the sim too. So it's really just get out in the community and see where you fit in.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where if you build it, they will come. So you just got to start running races, even if it's just you and 2 of your friends. If those races are being run and you get the equipment and everything, you get to a spot where your community can grow. And being a race organizer is tough. It's not exactly the most lavish thing in the entire world, but it's really awesome. And if you're one of those people who's wanting to start running races, even if it's just making yourself better or trying to run a race for a community, I think it's really awesome. Hopefully this video helps. If we didn't cover anything, please ask questions below. And yeah, we'll see you guys around.